Hello. It is Wednesday, so it is time for another weekend reading. No Christmas lights anymore because Christmas is over. So I took those shits down right away. I don't like to keep it going. So, what did we have last week? Let's take a look. Alright, we had The Mighty Valkyries, which I'm still not sure if it was a volume 1 or just a mini-series, but it was called All Hell Let Loose. Hell with one L, because of the Asgardian Hell. Which was actually a pretty good read, I'm not going to lie. Really good art. Really good art. Then there was Suicide Squad, Volume 1. Give Peace a Chance. I really like this one. Then, of course, there was the mini-series Justice League, Endless Winter. Nice little event mini-series that kind of came out of nowhere. Sort of self-contained thing. But I liked it. It was pretty good. As for my favorite of the week, that would be, actually a surprising one, it was Suicide Squad, Volume 1, Give Peace a Chance. I really liked where this new series is going. It's written by Robbie Thompson, with a lot of artists working on it. Robbie Thompson and art by Eduardo Panzica. Yes, the guy's listed second, which makes sense. A lot of stuff in this one. It's a very big volume. For starters, it collected the Future State Suicide Squad things. That's actually how it starts, with the Future State Suicide Squad issues, which I'd already read before in the Future State collections. So it was a bit of rehashing with that. But it was interesting because it seems like the rest of the series is setting up how it gets to that, which kind of makes sense. So it introduced characters, like they're taking things from the movies, obviously, because characters like Peacemaker plays very heavily into this. Even Bloodsport shows up about halfway through, and it seems like he's going to be a significant character. A character who wasn't in the movie but is significant in this is Superboy. Superboy plays very heavily into this. Now, Superboy has been part of the Suicide Squad before in former iterations from, like, I'm talking like over 20 years ago. So it looks like they're coming back to that. Although the end of the issue suggested that there might be more to this Superboy that's on the Suicide Squad than the one we currently have. So, I mean, there's already like 2 Superboys, but it's not the one who's the son of Superman. It's the one who's the clone of the sort of hybrid clone of Superman. That Superboy. But it might not actually be him. It might be some kind of weird clone of him. It's kind of weird. It seems like there's something more. With Amanda Waller, there's always some kind of scheme. There's also issues with, Rick Flag, and there's, conflicts between her and Peacemaker, because Peacemaker's a fucking violent lunatic, and there's a issue of them invading Earth 3, so they even recruited the Talon there. So it's hints of things from the movie, wrapped into things of the comic book, things that have been suggested that are coming in the comic book. So it's kind of like, it seems like that Future State stuff isn't just throwaway shit. It looks like they're actually, with a lot of their comics, building to what's in them, to at least to some degree. So it's kind of cool that DC is doing that. But I like this series, and I look forward to what comes next from it. But that was all last week. So what do we got coming up this week? Well, we have, first off, we got Reign of X, Volume 6. This has been a solid series, so I've been liking this one. Desperate times in the Reign of X. The mutants are dying. Krakoa is dying. Earth itself is dying. All hope for humanity as a species lies in Sword and Protocol V. But Protocol, or maybe it's Protocol 5. It's always weird when it's a Roman numeral. So, Protocol V or 5 isn't going to work. Okay. Weeks ago, Sync, Darwin, and X3 stepped into the vault. That happened a ways back. Now they are about to emerge, but inside the vault, centuries have passed. What has become of them? The Marauders return to Madripoor to pay tribute to a fallen friend, but old enemies are being forged anew. And after a turbulent time with X-Force, death gives Quentin Quire a new lease on life. Long live Quentin Quire. Or Quentin Quire? I think it's Quire. Or maybe it is Queer. I don't know. Collecting Sword, number 4 by Al Ewing, Jonathan Hickman, and Gary Dugan. X-Men 18 through 19 by Benjamin Percy, Valerio Schiti. That's Schiti. You tell me how that's pronounced. And Mahmoud Asrar. Marauders 18 through 19 by Stefano Caselli and Matteo Lolli. And X-Force 17 by Joshua Cassera, Marte Garcia, Sonny Go, Edgar Delgado, I don't know if I said Edgar Delgado, and Guru EFX. Yeah, so Reign of X has been a pretty solid book. I don't think it's ever made one of my favorites of the week, but it's definitely been a solid read. So I do like what they're doing with the X-Men lately. Some people don't, but I like it. Here's an original one that I am kind of nervous about because of who's writing it. Once upon a time, this was a guy who I really enjoyed his writing. Nowadays, he's been kind of missing with me. But we'll see. This is something brand new. That would be Geiger, Volume 1. No subtitle to it, just Geiger. Who is the glowing man? Meet Tariq Geiger, a survivor of the unknown war of 2030. When nuclear war ravaged the planet and tore his family away from him, it also made him a living nuclear reactor with a smoldering cauldron of radioactivity inside him. Now in 2050, Geiger has become an urban legend, a boogeyman bedtime story told to the children of a rebuilt Las Vegas, a twisted theme park version of what it once was. Ruled by ruthless warlords, Vegas exists within a system of tunnels, keeping its inhabitants safe from the toxic soup of its surrounding atmosphere. If you play your cards right, you can have a better life. Outside its walls, Geiger just wants to be left alone while the mutated insect nightcrawlers and cannibalistic organ people stalk the landscape for their next victims. But when the warlords of Las Vegas draw Geiger into their power plays, the glowing man becomes an unwitting protector of 2 young orphans in a dangerous game of survival, and we soon discover the warlords aren't the only ones interested in eliminating Geiger. Collects Geiger 1 through 6. This is a pretty thick volume for just 6 issues, I'm not going to lie. The art looks good. Let's see, who we got? We got Jeff Johns, that's the writer. He's a guy I used to like, but nowadays his writing has kind of fallen off in recent examples, so we'll see if this holds up. Gary Frank, that's the artist. Gary Frank's art, his art still holds up. That's still solid art. And Brad Anderson, who is what is Brad Anderson? Brad Anderson is the colorist. And the colors look very nice, so we'll see. And then we have, I kind of hinted at this one, I think it was last week, but we have Sinister War. This is a Spider-Man miniseries tying into the Spider-Man series. If you remember, I think last week I mentioned how Spider-Man's conclusion to his storyline that had been building felt kind of unfinished because part of it felt undone. This is why, because they included part of the story in this miniseries. The major conflict of what was going on with the rebuilt Sinister Six and all these other different teams that were showing up ended up in a miniseries because I guess it was just too much to tell in the main series, which seems odd. But let's see. Dr. Octopus is back. We already knew that. He's assembled a new Sinister Six, and if you think he's thought big in the past, think again. But what Doc Ock doesn't know is that the Vulture has a sextet of his own, the Savage Six. Brace yourself for an all-out war between 2 of the greatest villains in the Marvel Universe, and the only person they hate more than each other is Spider-Man. Spidey's in deep trouble with the toughest battle he's ever faced, and a deadly dozen of his fiercest foes out for blood. Amazing Spider-Man scribe Nick Spencer and the legendary Mark Bagley team up for an epic story guaranteed to shock readers. Collecting Sinister War 1 through 4 by Nick Spencer, Ed Brisson, Mark Bagley, Dio Neves, Carlos Gomez, Z. Carlos, Marcelo Ferreira, Andrew Hennessy, John Dell, Andy Owens, Brian Reber, and Andrew Crossley. Yeah, and it looks like they're showing a bunch of different characters. I don't know if they're all going to show up, but I guarantee most of them will. So this one should definitely be an interesting read because they were building up to this, and I was very interested in this. So all the Spider-Man villains are fun. So this might be my favorite of next week, but we'll see. So that was the reads. So I've been saying I'm running out of things to talk about, and actually I was originally planning to do the last abandoned plot I had for this week, but then something else happened, something I read, and it brought to mind something, so I'm going to go back to this thing that I occasionally do called comic issues. In case you don't remember, comic issues is a thing where they're having, like, as it suggests, issues within the comic book industry, certain little conflicts or controversies that pop up. So what was the thing that, what's the controversy this week? Well, it's actually not a controversy of this week. It's just something that reminded me of a controversy that's been going on. Let me explain. There was a recent announcement by Marvel that there was going to be a new Punisher series. And the interesting thing about this Punisher series is that he's going to be involved with the Hand. Now, the Hand is a group of criminal ninjas in the Marvel universe. They usually wear red. They've been involved in many characters, most notably Daredevil and Wolverine. But Punisher isn't going to be fighting these guys like he has before. Something's going to happen where he's going to end up becoming the new leader of the Hand. So sort of somehow switching allegiances. Which is a story that they've done before with Daredevil, where he became the leader of the Hand. And that was a pretty good story, but now this is basically Marvel just rehashing that story with the Punisher. Now that's not really that's not the controversy. Comic books reusing old plot lines or copying each other or even copying themselves in this situation is nothing new. It's disappointing when they do it, but it's nothing new. The controversy is that somebody brought up the thought, because with this new Punisher storyline comes the Punisher getting a new costume and getting a new symbol. They're changing the Punisher logo. Now, you might know the Punisher logo is that stylized skull symbol he has. He's had that, or at least variations of that, for decades. But now, with this new Hand thing, he has a new symbol. A very ninja-esque, Japanese-inspired skull symbol. Almost demonic looking. So it's a change. It's a change to reflect that he's a part of the Hand now. Some people have suggested that maybe the reason they did that. Now, I don't know if this is true because it's a change of this Punisher status quo that I'm sure at some point will go back to normal. But some people have suggested that he did that because Disney doesn't want to take ownership of something that's been going on over the past couple of, I want to say years, but it might actually be decades. This is where the controversy is. Around the time of, I think it was the Iraq War, nerds started making their way into the military. That may be unfair. Comic books have been part of military pair packages for years. I mean, they used to send Captain America comics to GIs in World War II. That's what happens when you have teenagers in the fucking military. They're still going to read comic books. But one thing they did is that somebody was a fan, like putting the Punisher skull on their uniforms and helmets and even their vehicles, or sometimes even like their bases, became a thing that the military started doing because it's just a badass symbol that's associated with killing people. As to whether the military should or shouldn't be doing that, it's just like, I don't know, we send them to other fucking countries to fucking kill people. It's like, this is what these guys are trained to do. But that isn't even the big part of the controversy. The controversy comes, as like most things with the military, it somehow trickles its way down to our actual police forces, much like weaponry and equipment and the attitude of shoot first and ask questions later gets trickled down to our police departments sometimes, as has this symbol. So you see a lot of cops will be driving around with the Punisher symbol as like decals in the window, or in some cases putting it on the hood of the fucking car. Now, I know a lot of people who support police, like they'll have the blue Lives Matter flag in the shape of the Punisher symbol, but that's just somebody making that. I'm talking about actual police officers putting the Punisher symbol on their fucking cars. Driving around with a symbol of a vigilante who murders criminals. Now, if you're not familiar with some of the controversies involving the police and the way they deal with people they consider to be criminals in this country, let me just tell you that might not be the message they want to send right now. Because some people are of the opinion that police are a little too hostile when it comes to dealing with some people. And they might not want to send the message that, hey, they're of the mindset of a murderous vigilante. This has become such an issue that in the last Punisher series, they actually took a moment in the series to have the Punisher being caught by the cops and the cops letting him go, because they said that they actually supported him, and they actually showed how they had a Punisher decal on his car and how they wanted to be like that, how they were emulating him. And the Punisher actually chastising the cops for it. It was a little heavy-handed, I'm not going to lie. But it was the Punisher actually chastising the cops, saying that they shouldn't support him. They're not supposed to be like him. They're supposed to be against him. That was Marvel's addressing the situation. But that's still not the controversy. The controversy is that some people are pointing out this is clearly the Punisher symbol that they are ripping off. A copyrighted symbol for their copyrighted character that Marvel could, if they wanted to, take legal action to get police departments to stop using this. To stop putting the symbols on their cars, to stop using these fucking homemade decals, that they could sue them. And even more so, Marvel is owned by Disney, which is a very litigious company. Disney, this is a little story that I remember from a couple years back. Disney once sued a family whose child, who had died of cancer at the age of 5, wanted to build a little tombstone / monument that would have Mickey Mouse on it, because Mickey Mouse was the child's favorite character. He was 5 years old, and he died of leukemia. So they wanted to build that. When word got out that they were building that, Disney sued the family to stop them from building it. Now keep in mind, this was just a monument to their son. This wasn't something they were going to make money off of. This was literally something that was just going to cost them a lot of money to make. And Disney shut it down because it was their copyrighted character. They said that it was their intellectual property and they had no right to use it. So they shut down a family whose child had died of cancer. Disney thought that was worth it. But with these police departments, and by extension, of course, the military, just running around with Punisher symbols showing how they're just gun-toting guys who are ready to kill, Disney hasn't said shit. Disney and Marvel haven't said a goddamn thing. Because they'll gladly sue the family of a dead kid, but they won't take one move against the police department. They don't want that controversy. So that's why some people think that this move to change the symbol has happened. I'm not sure if that's the case. That's a big assumption, but it doesn't help that Disney has never addressed this issue. Disney and Marvel have never addressed this issue. And it just seems kind of like it's something they want to ignore. And it's not a thing that maybe they don't want to step into the recent police violence controversy. And if they did that, they definitely would be stepping right into it. And they sure as shit don't want to. I think it's just a cowardly move on their part. I think Disney is a shitty company, and as much as I enjoyed a lot of their movies, I think it's really stupid of especially the nerd culture applauding them just buying more and more movie studios and movie properties, making themselves into this fucking movie entertainment monopoly, and we're all fucking applauding it. It doesn't matter if the TV shows and movies are good. It's not a good thing for entertainment overall. That's my little 2 cents on that. Went off on a tangent there at the end, but yeah, that is the comic issue. That is the issue. Just the Punisher being used as a symbol for people who shouldn't be using him as a symbol. So, yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I hope you enjoy your reading. Have a good one, folks.